Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so glad to have you here. First of all, thank you so much for indulging me and taking this course and for your bravery in exploring this path for yourself and, for the betterment of the collective, I suppose, because to me, it's like we are all raising the collective vibration, right? By just knowing what's happening in the world and getting into that reality, if you will, within that higher vibrational field of existence.
So anyway, back to Raquel. I think it was in February, right, Raquel, when I contacted you and started the course.
Yeah, I
At the
think
same
that's
time,
about right.
yeah, I decided my mission was, because I studied as a reflexologist, a Reiki up to Reiki master. And I thought, I need to use these healing modalities. What's the point of studying them, And I was like, oh, am I good enough? Am I worthy? All those things. So I just went at the deep end. And I got very lucky. Well, lucky, I think contacts came towards me. So I had a lady who was asking me to help with athletics club for the children from age 7 to about 15 years of age. So I said, yes, why not? Let's do it. I used to be a runner many years ago. So I'm doing that 2 evenings a week. And I'm very much in contact with little ones of all ages and parents and coaches and teachers. And then maybe three mornings a week, I go to a care home. And that is speaking to the elderly. I obviously take my music. I've got sprays and trying to get the elderly, and I don't do feet reflexology because a lot of them, bless them, have got either swollen feet or issues, or I've got to start from scratch, like cleaning them, wiping them, and I'm thinking I'd rather do their hands. But more often than not, I have done a few hand reflexology, but it's more like they want to speak to me, they want to tell me about their past, and it's more being a listener. And I feel that's also another way of healing. So I don't get wound up, oh, I should be doing hand here and there. So I've been up there this morning, and again, a couple of ladies were telling me about their past, and quite a horrific, some of the ladies, the stuff they've gone through with husbands. And in those days, you would not be seen to be separated or divorced, and stuff they went through, and how strong women we are, really talking about the divine feminine. I just keep thinking of that on a daily and hourly basis. So yeah, doing all that, but I'm thinking I feel very inspired now with the courses I'm doing. The little ones, it's funny, I'm going at two spectrums, the elderly and the young ones, somewhere there. And they're giving me so much, you feel like I'm being in service to them, and it's the other way around. They're giving me so much love in return. And the kids,
Yeah.
gosh, they're full of life, full of joy. They've got the world just in front of them. It's like amazing. And then the course, going back to that, Raquel, I have totally loved it. I've immersed myself, and I do feel I've made a better contact with my higher self now, but I've not been good with journaling. I feel like I want to rely on my memory, and I think I should be going back to it and, reviewing. So I'm going to rely on my memory of what I've been doing the last few weeks. But
That's fine.
I also bought the books. I bought the two of them. One's the ebook, and the other one, which I've got here, which is absolutely beautiful. This
Oh,
one,
thank you.
yeah. And the other one was the ebook, because in Gibraltar it's so hard to get stuff from Amazon. It either arrives too late or it doesn't get here. And we got issues because we're such a small place anyway. But there's ways of getting around it. So having read both books, then I think I went back to Raquel and I asked for a reading. So I feel very connected to the Holy Family, to Yeshua, Mary Magdalene. I think I've been in a scene as well. So again, lots of, sort of memories coming in, and the veils are coming down for sure. The fear is going away. That's a process. And the old beliefs, being brought up as a Catholic, very strict Catholic, is like, no, it's all within, isn't it? So
Yeah.
again, and so many people in Gibraltar are very much like into the Vatican or the religion, and what's going on. Not very woke people around, but I'm trying to drop seeds wherever I go, speaking up and just saying some things. If people ask me questions, then I will carry on, but if not, I'll just keep my mouth closed. But yeah, the journey, it's just been, I won't say overwhelming, but honestly, Raquel, it's everything. It's like the time is just speeding so fast. I don't know where the days go now. So just trying to maximize it and trying. I think also doing some there's this American lady, and I've forgotten her name. Rona. She used to channel Archangel Michael. Rona,
I'm
forgotten her
not
name.
aware of her.
It'll come to me anyway. So I've got some ebooks, and that was an audiobooks. And one thing that struck me was like Archangel Michael is saying, instead of doing meditation once or twice a day, we should be walking meditation. And since I started doing it a few days ago, I feel as if my consciousness has sort of risen. It's been elevated. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. All I need to do is just switch. Something happens. I could feel like the body, the vibration is different. It's obviously, I think I'm being elevated, or I am doing it with my
Did you
subconscious.
say walking?
Yes, in other words,
Oh,
it's like a
okay.
daily, what he was trying to say is, rather than set a time, which I
Okay.
can't keep to, he says, like, in your daily, when you're walking out, make meditation a 24-hour thing, which is obviously, hard when you've got things to do. But that's what
Yeah.
he meant, like going out, walking, and it's a total, change your attitude, your consciousness. So yeah, it's a work in progress, Raquel.
Thank you. No, that's a beautiful way of explaining your process
Thank
and
you.
what's been happening. But I totally honor you and I commend you
Mm,
for your commitment and opening yourself to these potentials
mm,
and the work that you're doing. It's so amazing. And like you said, you're looking at the two spectrums, right? The new ones that are coming in and the souls that are leaving, right? So you're getting to visualize these two extreme
mm,
ends of that soul path, if you will. And yeah, I just got chills when you said you feel a connection to the Essenes, and
mm,
Shekina Grace will tell you of this as well. Like the three of us have aligned, and I don't know if you've caught up on everything that's going on my channel, but Shekina Grace and Shekina Ma and myself have aligned with this beautiful energy, and we're calling ourselves the shamankas or the
mm.
Trinity. And
I
so
saw.
we've come together and we're doing all of this grid work missions, and we're, just yesterday we had a great conversation on YouTube. But we've found that we've been somehow brought into this reality of the Essenes and of their practices, and just
Mm,
bringing in that whole Mary Magdalene, Yeshua reality, and that Holy Family, as you said, that was within their reality. And so we've been coming into that understanding and how they practiced and the mystery schools teachings that they
mm,
followed. And so it's like, to me, it's like all of this scene sort of impressions are like gathering from around the world and coming together in a rough sort of pattern, right? And
mm,
we're just coming together to sort of shake hands and say, yes, I see you, I acknowledge you, for your past and for your present and what you are going through now. And so I feel like it's like giving each other these big bear hugs and saying,
mm.
I acknowledge you, I know you, whether it's from this
Yeah.
lifetime or from the past, right? And so, yeah, explore that, Marissa, really explore that.
Mm,
Because, and I'll send you a link to a book that I just discovered. It's such a beautiful gem. I don't know if you've read it. It's called
mhm.
Anna, the Grandmother of Jesus.
I've got it.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. It's such a beautiful
Yeah.
book, and it just so deeply impacted me. I'm on my second listening at the moment, and it's
Yeah.
just so, so beautiful. But yeah, it talks extensively about the Essenes and how they practiced, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, thank you for that. And Shikina, I don't know where you are in the course, but do you want to sort of give us a before and after, if you will, or where you were at and what was it that sort of, and I know I sort of approached this or presented this to you as sort of a trial in terms of what my course was all about. But I know you haven't completed it, but if you want to just give me a little gist of what your understanding was coming into the course, then diving in, and just give me a little bit of what your experience has been with the course.
Yeah. Well, part of me hesitated to even come on the call because there was a conflict within myself. Like, I kind of have prided myself in the past of being someone who's like super disciplined and super like consistent. And just with all the energies coming in, it's kind of like I met you, and then it was on the cusp of, like, I think it was late winter, early spring, and I had the time, and I was like, yes. And I thought, yeah, every week I'll just be on it. And so there's like quantum levels, and like it's almost even hard for me to articulate um the acceleration that's taken place. Now, I would I wouldn't, I wouldn't hesitate to say that part of that is the seed or the planting of your course, and how I think I've only done like the first 3 modules. And but what I think what collectively we're experiencing, or at least I'm experiencing through our meeting, Raquel, is like how much is transmitted through the person. It's like your course is in you. Like it's you. And because I've had the privilege and the honor and just like the total joy, and like blessing and gift to like spend so much time with you, like we've been doing so much together since meeting, there's a part of me that wants to say that I've moved through the entire course or received all the transmissions just by interacting with you. That doesn't mean that I don't want to finish the course, because I do like to complete things. And I also have like, I don't know if it's a gift or a curse, but like if I do something, I want to really like really be present and really go into it. And I've just had a lot of distractions since spring. Like I'm expanding in my and I feel like I'm like there's acceleration and ascension happening. And so it's like it's not, I'm not saying that to complain, but I have felt the energy of just like you were sharing, Marissa, like I could use the word overwhelm, but I don't mean it in a
Mm.
negative sense. It's like it's exciting, and there's just so much happening all the time. Like even as I speak, Marissa, when you were speaking, like I'm constantly getting like washes and showers of
Mm.
chills. And so it's just like it's almost like I can just only be present to that. Like it's like my logical mind kind of, it's like God's telling me just to let it take a back seat, and that not everything really has to be super coherent or make sense in the logical sense now, because we're dropping into the divine feminine way. That crazy wisdom way where it's just like we just know. It's like felt in our body. So, but to speak specifically, because I know part of this is like for you to gain feedback, and I also wanted to show up because I really trust and believe in your mission, Raquel, and I really want to support you.
I love the feedback that you've given me. And we've done a show together specifically. I
And
think you had done like perhaps module 1 or 2, and we had a great show together. So you've
Mhm.
already filled my heart with that feedback,
Mm.
and you've given me so much already. Um, so no, take your time, do it at your own pace, which is what it's meant to be, right?
Yeah.
And like you rightly said, your energy is like an empath, right? You just take it all in, and it
Mm.
drenches you in that energy, right? And so
Yeah.
that in itself can be very overwhelming. And so I honor you for that, because you bring, just by your presence, you bring so much depth into every conversation, because you're seeing these things from all these different levels. To me, you are already in the fifth dimension, so it's like it's like this is a very sort of entry level course for you, right? So by all
Mm.
means, you don't even need to go back to the course, because you are already there. Like, you are already doing the work, you are already an advanced being in this reality. To me, right? I learn so much from you. I have so much to learn from you. And so for me to be taking those baby steps and to bring in those beings that, and I'm not saying this to undermine you, Marissa, in any way, because you are also an evolved being, but the intention for this course was to bring in those beings that are struggling to take that initial step on their path. So it's like bringing in those beings that are, in a way, trying to um, fight with themselves, if you will, in trying to, and
Mm.
that was my struggle as well, leaving that matrix job, leaving that 3D energy behind, and taking that step forward and embracing this reality in all of its um, difficulties as well, but all of its beauty as well. And I still struggle with that, on a daily basis. It's like I don't have a job right now. I'm struggling to get this business, if you will, off the ground, right? And so it's like I'm just trusting, so it's just trusting, trusting that this will move me forward and give me that ability to be successful in whatever way. So it's like I've just offered it up to the Almighty and to all that is, or the Creator, and said, okay, I'm here. Show me the way forward, right? And so these are all the things that come into my reality, and this is my gift to the collective. So it's like, these teachings, the transmissions I get from Yeshua and Mary that I do perhaps on a weekly basis, my interactions with you folks, all of these are my way of giving back to the collective. And however it's received is up to the individual, and how they use it on their path is totally up to the individual. And so it's no reflection on how you receive it or how it materializes in your life. It's for you. It's my gift to you, right? And so if it works as a collective gift to for you to expand and to share that with the world, then so be it. If it works for your own benefit, then that fills my heart.
So we've been doing all that in the feminine and doing all that hard work, and I do feel we're probably all these scenes are now all being grouped together around the world,
Yeah.
to hear our voices heard as well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
thank
think
you, Shakina. I just want to go back to what you said. And I feel that so much, so deeply in my heart. And you're right. You're right about saying that I have evolved, and I see that imbalance in myself when I reflect to the time when that course came through, right? I was deeply in my masculine energies at that time. And now, very recently, I've started to engage and shift that balance into bringing my feminine energies um, in balance with the masculine. And so I've I've wept through those meditations when that balance has happened. And meeting the two of you who are that embodiment of the Divine Mother, it's like all of these feminine energies are anchoring themselves into my being. And so thank you for that feedback. I will definitely give it thought. But just going back to that foundational stuff, like you said, it was truly the essence of the teaching, and it was a live transmission. And my guidance at the time was to present it in the way that I received it. Okay, maybe I just wanted to have feedback about the meditations and the pranayama practices that were introduced. Perhaps Shakina Grace, you might have got the first one, I think, if that. But I had introduced the meditation and the initial breathing techniques. I think there were four breathing techniques spread over, I think, the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth module. So I just wanted to know if there was any feedback about that and how you guys felt about that. If you haven't experienced it, that's fine. But maybe Marissa can speak to that.
I'll say for sure, when I did the meditation, straight away I did go into that breathing, the modalities you were putting out, and I just felt blown away. But I never went back to repeat it. Saying that as well, it was like you were saying, Shakina, life was just taking over me, and I was going to bed late, blah blah blah, and I was doing that. But definitely, all of those that I did had a great effect on my energy. So, and I have read so much about breathing, how important the way we breathe and how deeply we should be breathing, So I will definitely, that's why I'm saying to you from the very beginning, Raquel, I am definitely repeating it. So like Shakina said, you do this online. If say somebody's doing on the module 1 and I'm on 7, I would happily do module 1 just to repeat. Don't they say repetition is the way to?
Yeah.
So
and that's
go ahead.
well, that's mystery school, right? It's like repetition is the mother of wisdom. Isn't that something like that?
Yeah. And there's different levels, isn't there? Just because you've done it, like I just said to you, I've done the breathing, but I'm thinking, no, there's different levels, and you go deeper and deeper. So every time I repeat, even when I reread a book, I'm like, oh, I missed that out. And I think it's because my consciousness is probably not ready to receive that deeper meaning. But yeah, the breathing, I loved it. And your voice was so soothing. Honestly, Raquel, it felt probably, I'm not going to say I fell asleep, but I was just in a different zone straight away. That's why I feel the connection to my higher self. For me, it's always been, I've been told I've got the knowing, and I've got the feeling. So what's that? Cognizance and the other one, whatever it's called. And sometimes I always feel, I wish I had some proof. Could I have a voice? Could I have a seed? But they're saying to me no. So I have had to learn to accept that's my way, that's my gift. You've got the cognizance, you know it and you feel it. And so I'm going a lot with my feelings. And now I'm really paying more attention since the course, Raquel, to my feelings. And when my energies, I feel a tingle or a shiver, then I know there's a truth in there. And whenever I'm reading something, it's just so over. Even now talking, I'm feeling tingles everywhere, and it is confirmation for me. So I need to pay more attention. I'm thinking, what a gift. Why am I poo-pooing it? Why do I want something else? So I think that was me probably doubting, like, oh, everyone else is seeing, or somebody else can hear, and somebody else is channeling. And I realized, like, everyone's different. We're all here to help. We're all like different cogs in this wheel. So it's taken me a while, but so much confidence I've got now, and very little doubt. And I think the more I let go, like you were saying, Shakina, letting go and letting God come in, wow, I'm blown away. The day I don't plan something and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go out. I've got a few things, errands I've got to do, but let's see when the day turns out. And it's just amazing. The people I meet, there's obviously, I need to say something to them. It's when I get back, I'm like, wow, this lady asked me for advice or this, and it's like, oh my God. If I planned it, I probably, my ego would have been in the way. So it's going to show again, Raquel, with the course, is teaching me going within a lot more than before. Forget what the outside is, because everything's from within. We're the creators, aren't we? It's our thoughts and our emotions that we need to be in control of, aren't we? And I see so many people there's a couple of little ones running, and when they finish the race, they just fall crying, dramatic, and I'm like, what is going on? And the mother says to me, oh, don't worry, she does it all the time. She just throws herself on the track crying. And I'm like, oh, so there's different children here that I'm thinking, I think they need a bit of kind of showing them a different way,
Yeah.
And it's probably because they don't know how to express themselves as well. And I could see that the mother was very similar. So again, the energies were it was like reflecting one another, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So I feel just being there, and trying to be like the center of love and peace, just bringing in that calming, because you see so many kids erratic. So I feel as well, without saying anything, it's just anchoring that peace around them. And just, I think I'm trying to build that aura, when I call in my higher self as well a lot. I'm learning to do that so much more. It's just changing around. And then I feel people, the way they respond to me, it's different, Raquel. And I'm like, well, I haven't said anything, but it must be the energy, So again, you think it's subtle, but during this course that I've done on and off, and like, that's why I'm doing it again. I just feel something's happened in me as well. It's shifted. And I can't explain it because it's something that you can't put into writing, can you? The ego was to
It's very
explain
subtle.
it.
Yeah, it's very subtle. Yeah.
But it's growing much,
That's
it's
awesome.
really beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. The reason why I brought in those exercises was because I wanted to sort of bring in those teachings. I've trained as a yoga teacher as well, and so that impacted my life as well. And so I thought, okay, let's sprinkle this with a little bit of my own, yoga teacher's practice, if you will. And so that those practices, if you can incorporate it into your daily life, that would really help you enhance your abilities as well, Marissa, especially the alternate nostril breathing and just concentrating on the third eye, right? Because what's happening is, and we've talked about this too on my many channels, right? On my on the YouTube channel, it's the pineal gland that's being, like clogged, if you will, with all of this garbage, right? That we've been fed and poisoned, right? And so what this breathing exercise does is it loosens up that energy, and then you're more open to the receiving of that higher energy, right? And those transmissions. And so perhaps that will widen your ability to see, to hear, to feel, to know all of these energies that are coming in. So yeah, just try to incorporate it into your morning practice,
Mhm.
because that's the way I do it, and it helps me to get that clearer connection to the divine, right?
Mhm.
And like we talked about yesterday as well, Shakina, we're all these little puzzle pieces in this divine plan, right? So we're all just trying to bring ourselves into this connection and to see and try to figure out where it is we fit, right? So however that energy lands within us, it's perfect, right? It's perfectly aligned with the divine. And so thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I don't quite remember the first breathing exercise. It was quite a while that I did the first few modules, but what comes to mind right now, and even like if I just go back to my experience sitting, like again, I it's too far back for me to discern which module was which, but like doing the exercises, I would say your resonant, like the tone of your voice,
Mhm.
as like an instrument, an activator, a key, a vibration is very much designed for this. It's you have a great guiding meditation voice, which in and of itself helps drop people in, whether they identify as being able to meditate or not. So I think I mentioned to you when we did our first interview, but and then, it is like Marissa, when you were sharing about the child and the mother, it's like people not understanding that they have a higher self to connect with.
Mhm.
That is that disconnect and that chaos. So this course is like, it's foundational and you might say like entry level, but it's actually very profound and high level mastery level. Like it's like that the idea, and I think the 11 weeks my sense is, and even the 3 that I did, it's like it's like that practice, like Marissa, you said, you're calling in your higher self more and more.
Mhm.
I already had a practice of that before taking your course, but I mean, I did learn new ways of like I tried some of your exercises even with like the hand, the hand position of getting like yeses and nos, like those somatic
Mhm.
experiences just fortified and anchored and even dropped that higher self Holy Spirit more into my biology and my
Mhm.
physicality. So I think over the 11 weeks, I think what's taking place that we have trouble articulating is that no longer is your higher self up here something that you're connecting with. It's like you are your higher self. Like it starts to interface and integrate and land and land and land, and then it becomes embodied, and it's like there's this interface and integration of that, of your Holy Spirit, and it's changing your human biology, it's changing your DNA. And so that's why people are responding to you different, Marissa, is
Mhm.
what I my guess would be, is because like you move through and like in in mysterious ways. This is the mystery container, that's why it's like mystery school teachings. um, you are your higher self, Holy Spirit, and embodied through this course. So if
Mhm.
I had the chance to talk to the public and like promote this course, I mean, that's my feeling of what the result of this. And I felt it in my first 3 modules. I did have a practice prior to that, but it only strengthened and
Mhm.
fortified what I was already doing. And it was a beautiful reminder to breathe, because breath is the inspiration, the spirit. And so I don't think that we can really tap into that until we do have a sense, awareness, a conscious awareness of our breath, and experiencing our breath as something more than just the air that we breathe.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
combining those breathing exercises and like I said, you are encoded, like you have the divine gift of guiding meditation. And the fact that also you said, I think I was just in my masculine when I started this, but your voice is so feminine and so
Mhm.
motherly that like I don't
I
think
know.
divine feminine was missing from the equation. I think it's whole and complete.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can I add as well? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, you
of
just
course.
reminded me, Shakina. One thing, you see, I should have written my notes, but you brought it to my mind. One thing that after reading the books as well, and during the course, you, Raquel, I'm going to get tearful now. The name God for us Catholics, meant, like you just said, Shakina, it was somewhere above, You'd go to the church and you knew you could not connect with God the Father because he was too far away. You were a sinner, you were unclean, unworthy, blah, blah, blah. And with Raquel's course and connecting to the higher self, I just felt the Almighty, all that is, was with me as well, the Mother, Father, God, and it became so tangible for me. I'm like, so I think it was the very last one, Raquel, that I did. I was actually in tears because I really felt the presence of God around me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he loves me. He's here with me, because that's the upbringing that we've all had. So you've broken that barrier for me, whether it's the course, the books, everything, honestly, Raquel. And that Shakina just said is not just the higher self, but it's bringing the Almighty into us, source of all creation, So we're like tangibly bringing all of it down within us, and we're bringing heaven on earth, and we can do it. And we're like, oh my gosh, I can do this, and I'm walking this. So Raquel, I can't express myself too well because it's like so many thoughts coming
gosh.
so fast, but you really have brought God and the name of God. Now I can say it without the fear of God. Do you remember before it was like, you can't say this, I don't have any fear of God anymore. And before I would say the Almighty or, the one that is, now I say God. And it's like, guys, we don't have to believe what God used to be like in the Catholic. It's not like this or that, I think God he loves us so much. He's given so much to us. And we've been obviously, downplayed and abused in all thoughts and fears. So you've broken those barriers for me, honestly, Raquel. That's the other thing that's so beautiful for me, to have the contact and the connection, that I can go in the mornings and talk to God as if he's right there with me. And I do believe he is. Whereas before I thought, who am I? Like I've got to go through, or like in the Catholic Church, they say you've got to go through Jesus to get to God, all these steps. And of course, Yeshua would say, no, you can do it as well as I can. And I believe we can. So thank you, honestly, Raquel.
Oh, that fills my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's so powerful.
It
Yes,
is.
yes, yes, and yes. It was, and this just goes back to my own journey. It was so very difficult for me to overcome those hurdles as well because I had this resistance within my body, of being brought up. Well, I was baptized Protestant, and then my mom and dad split up when I was 14, and mom brought us into the Catholic Church, and we went through that whole process of being baptized in the Catholic Church. And so I just went through all of these motions of not, putting my heart into it, right? And I knew right from that point I was still searching. And I went through it. I went to the church, I went to the masses, I did the prayers, I did the Holy Communion, the first Holy Communion, and all of it just to please my mom, right? But throughout my teenage years and well into my 20s, I was still searching. I knew there was something more than that. I felt that connection to God, but I didn't know where to find this energy or this being, right? And so I went into Christianity, I went into Buddhism, and still I was searching, I went into the yoga center, and even though I connected with the dark energies, that was my breakthrough into this whole energy of connecting with the true energy of the divine, right? And so for me, it was like a hero's journey, right? I went through all of these experiences to be finally connected to the truth of what this energy is and to finally have that anchored into my being. And so for me, like you said, there's that resistance from the church. And when Yeshua came to me with the book, and it's like, you and I are going to write a book. And I'm like, Yeshua, why me? It's like, I'm the last person that you would choose to write a book about you, who's like this superhuman, if you will, right? And I was like, I don't want the Christians to come after me. He's like, no, 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 you are the perfect person to write this because you are like a clean slate. You have no preconceived notions of what Christianity means. And that's the truth. I haven't read the Bible. I had no historical background about Christianity. I mean, you pick up things here and there, but I had not taken that deep dive into what Christianity was. And so he's like, no, 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 this is
Mhm.
ordained, this is happening. You and I are writing this book. And, through that entire process as well, it was like a layer for me as well to break through those barriers and to get to know not only this being, but that direct connection to the Almighty, right? Or to all that is. And it was like, the collective of three were always there in my reality. They were like my guides, but then Yeshua was like this central presence. And through the writing of the book, even though it was a struggle for me, and it took longer than it should have. I took a break for, I think, about 6 or 8 months before I came back and completed the book,
Mhm.
because I was struggling within my own being of where it was and what I was doing and if I was doing the right thing. And to be honest with you, I fought, like really fought with this being, and I shut myself down many times, and I said, no, I don't want to be in this
Mhm.
reality. I don't want to have this connection. And with love, with patience, and with grace, I was brought back and brought back and brought back, and lessons were taught to me. I was so grateful to have that experience, and through all of it, I was battling the Draco and doing all of these big things, and it's like all of
Yeah.
these layers were happening in my life. And it was like I had gone through the most intense few years, with not only bringing myself into that higher understanding, but understanding within my own reality and my own truth of what was taking place, right? So it was a huge learning curve for me, but I knew that I had the width and the breadth within my own understanding and within my heart to take it on, right? And that's where that masculine energy comes in and says, yes, I can do it, right? And so I've had this very tough skin, if you will, right, to take on all of this. But when I stumbled on this meditation recently about the feminine energy, it just, the floodgates just opened, and I wept because my feminine side was so imbalanced, from all of
Mhm.
this fighting and all of this energy that I had put in, not only in writing the book, but in fighting with Yeshua and, fighting my own being and like
Mhm.
challenging myself to, to be here and to take on this mission, right? And so all of this has been like, a struggle within myself, but I feel I'm at that place now where I'm balanced, and I'm working through that as well as we go through this together, right? And so, you're right in saying that there's all of these different layers which we have to sort of set
Mhm.
aside as preconceived notions in our own mind and find that peace and that grace within our hearts to accept this offering, if you will, of having that direct connection, right? And that ability to just snap our fingers and say, okay, here I am, I'm directly connected to that higher energy, or to the higher self, which is like the conduit, if you will, to the creator. So yeah, yeah, it's been
Amazing
challenging for me
journey,
to.
Raquel. Yeah.
What's that?
Your amazing journey, the struggles you've gone through, and you
Yeah,
still went ahead and did it,
yeah.
That's a
And
lot
that's
of.
why I try to journal, because that's my way of anchoring all of this, right? If you just speak to somebody about it, they'll say, yeah, you're off your rockers or whatever. Well, I have a surprise for you, ladies.
Oh, yeah.
The collective of three would like to speak to you both. So I have a transmission coming through right now. Let's see what they have to say. Greetings, beloveds. You know us as the collective of three, and we have had so much pleasure just listening to your words. It fills our hearts deeply, deeply, deeply to hear all of your words and the lessons that you have learned through our transmissions and through Raquel. Isn't she a beauty? We love her so much, and we have found in her the beauty in her heart and the purity in order to represent us and to bring forth these teachings to you in the way and the manner in which we presented it to her. She worked hard in presenting that material to you. This material that was presented to you is a second version, if you will. She enhanced the version right before she presented it to you, so it is an enhanced version of our material. She redid the videos, if you will, and brought in more pictures and more liveliness, if you will, to the presentations. And she brought in her own essence in terms of the meditations and the yoga practices. And so we wish to thank her with you as witnesses for the work that she has brought forth and that you have benefited from in this forum. And so we wish to thank you for participating in this course and going through the motions of these modules with us. And if you haven't completed it, my dear Shakina, please do not worry about it. We know in your heart that you are already within that realm, if you will, of understanding what this teaching brings through. And so do with it as you wish, as Raquel has said. And we will honor you for what it is that you wish to take away from this course. And for all future connections with Raquel, we ask you not to lose contact with this being, as you are all weaving, shall we say, from the same fabric. And even though it is a very delicate fabric, we ask you to please stay in touch with each other as you weave together beautifully and from your heart. And so we wish to say these beautiful words to you. I know it is emotional for all of us to be here today, but we wanted to present ourselves and to let you know that you are in our hearts, and we are grateful to have been your teachers even in this small way. And so blessings to you. If you have any questions, we are ready to receive them. Oh, do you guys have any questions?
Wow.
I haven't yet read your books, Raquel. So I don't know who the collective of three are.
Mm.
They are the ones that brought forth the course. So the transmissions for the course were from them. So one of them is an Arcturian,
Mm,
one is a Palladian, and one is a being from the 12th dimension and is my primary guide.
mm,
So it's between the three of them that formed this collective of three and the transmissions that came through for the course.
mm,
And so as you progress, I think it was the fourth or the fifth one, they bring forth their own background and how it is they came to be a part of this
Mm.
larger collective, if you will, that are in our reality at the moment, and helping with the ascension of the earth at the moment.
mm,
So some people say it's the Galactic Federation, but that's just a loose translation of who these
Mm.
beings are. But they are just one aspect of that collective. Like the Andromeda are leading the charge, if you will. But there are many factions and many beings that come in. It's like the UN, if you will, right? Many come in with their own sort of abilities and their own strengths, and to present and represent their own country or their own, in this case, star system, right? And so the being from Arcturus is like, he calls himself like an elder within their reality, right? So lived many lives, had experiences on the earth plane, in the physical, and so has that background of guiding people through the ascension process. The Palladian being is also had an experience on the earth plane, but trained in the energy of love and what that means, in
Mm.
terms of presenting love through the expression of music, through the expression of genetics and frequency. And so, yeah, that all of that is talked about in the book as well. And the being from the 12th dimension is, or was, a guide for Brahma when Brahma was in the physical, um, all those many eons ago. And so this being was like the higher self aspect, if you will, of Brahma. But with the invasion of the Draco, that energy was severed. And so this group, if you will, were taken away from the earth plane, and this being guided those beings that were trapped, if you will. And so a small group of them managed to escape from the earth during that invasion. And so this being was like the guiding force that took them to safety, and they anchored themselves, and they were refugees on Saturn for a while, until very recently, where they've now moved on and, chose, if you will, where they want to live out their lives. And so this being is like a direct connection to my soul family, and so is my primary guide. And so they make up the collective of three. And so a lot of my writings, like my blog, the book, the course, a lot of it has come through from the teachings of these beings as a collective of three.
I highly recommend the book, Shakina, Progressing to the Fifth, and obviously this one, The Voice of an Angel. But that book confirms so much that we all suspect to be true for what happened on the earth, the battles between, like the Greys, the reptilians. And it's like, I always knew that in my heart of hearts, but reading your book again, Raquel, it just made it so much, I knew this was in your heart of heart so many things, but you feel like you want not proof or evidence, but this book is like, I knew it, every time I turned a page, I knew it. So I had to go back and read it again. It's like, I knew that was happening in the world, or I knew that was that, so. But again, it's very difficult, like Raquel is saying, so many people are not ready to hear that kind of truth of what's really happening, like especially with the reptilians. They think we're like crazy. It's like, no, people have experienced that. Raquel, you're the the evidence of that. But that book was so amazing that you obviously channeled it through. I wonder, the question I could ask is, are we going to, in this lifetime, going to witness the ETs? Our Arcturian brothers and sisters and the Andromedans, or are we still not ahead in our peaceful minds, to allow them to come onto the earth because we're still too aggressive as a human race?
Yeah, they say there is a potential, but it is weak at the moment because, let's say, Hollywood or the mainstream media, if you will, are the blockages or the obstacles in bringing that forward, because they have created this vision in people's minds of what the aliens, if you will, are, right? And so that's a very difficult barrier to break through. But having said that, like, there have been a lot of people that have been transmitting, if you will, from the star nations, and so that barrier is breaking down, but not enough for us to say perhaps have like a mothership land and hover above your reality. There is a potential, but it's not very strong at the moment. So it's a moving target, shall we say. If perhaps, people like you and the others expand this message out and bring forth more of our teachings, then perhaps that need, if you will, for people to connect to their star nations grows stronger, then that potential becomes stronger as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure if they answer personal questions, but I have strong alignments to Arcturus, and the Arcturians guided me, or I really felt the presence of Arcturus, anyways, or like a collective guiding me to create my 13-week full body rejuvenation course, like the self-healing course. And I'm just curious to communicate with this Arcturian being. And then also, like, I think there's some wounding for me with the Pleiadians. I don't feel a strong connection, like a natural resonance to the Pleiadians, but I also feel like a chironic wound there, and that's the potential blockage. So I guess I'm just putting out, or maybe asking if there's any further guidance on the course that I've created, um, from the Arcturian specifically, and any other messages that come through. If they have anything to share.
Thank you. As you are aware, we are in a reality, shall we say, where your sovereignty is a very sacred energy. And so your Akashic records, so to speak, are your own. And so we would have to perhaps get permission to open that doorway, shall we say, to explore what the course is that you are offering. It is, if you can imagine, the Arcturians are a star nation, but we are like the earth, many beings upon that nation, if you will. And so I am perhaps a being from North America, and you perhaps are a being from India. And so I cannot come into your house and open your door and freely access all of the things within your home. And so we have to request permission to access those informations that you speak about. But it would be our pleasure to make contact with you, perhaps in a more subtle way, and gain that permission from you. In terms of your question with the Pleiades, the same applies. And so it is in your heart and in your connection to the divine to open up these gateways. So perhaps in your meditation, if you would like to connect to us, speak the words of the collective of three, and we will be there in your heart, in your meditation, and guide you through whatever questions you may have on a personal level. We hope that this helps you. Blessings.
That makes sense. Awesome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Raquel.
You're welcome. Any other burning questions, ladies? I'm so grateful for this conversation. Yeah, so lots to think about, ladies. Thank you. I really appreciate your feedback and your vulnerability and sharing your heart with me. So many potentials. Hey, ladies.
Oh, thank you, ladies. It's been lovely chatting to you both.
Yeah, let's keep in touch. I'll definitely email the two of you. And thank you,
Okay.
thank you so much for your time and for filling my heart today with all of these beautiful messages. So thank you, ladies.
Okay. Love you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.